Well, it's springtime and it's starting to become absolutely beautiful outside. Some might say hot, but it's very sunny. I'm here at Pike Nurseries with Rena, who's been here for the last 15 years. She's an expert on everything plant. Rena, what is the busiest season for you guys here at Pike Nurseries?
Well, we are definitely in the midst of the busiest season. I mean, people are so hot to, put color back in their world, and we are just filled with everything from soup to nuts, and it's just, you walk in here and it literally takes your breath away. So yes, this is definitely the high point of the year. I think if you're a beginning gardener, you want to set yourself up for success in gardening. So it's very, very critical to take the time to understand about preparing to plant. It's not just about going out there, finding something gorgeous, popping it in a pot or in the ground. You've got to prepare to do it right. You need to prepare the soil. You need to put something in the soil to kind of jack up those roots and get them going. And then you need very carefully to know what your sun or shade element is. That is so critical in gardening. So if you're not getting any sun in your garden, we have plants, a jillion plants that are specifically set up and can survive beautifully in shade. Then we have tropicals and all kinds of plants that can take full sun. In the summer in Atlanta, it gets so hot. So a full sun plant here does not mean you have to have necessarily 8 to 10 hours of sun a day. It means really if you have 4 hours of really good, strong Atlanta sun, these plants feel just like we do. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they're going, oh my God, please help me. I mean, they struggle too. So we need to always understand what we are trying to accomplish in our garden. And I would say that that would be the most critical element.
How critical is it to know the type of plants that you're selecting, and even vegetables for the really hot part of the year?
We keep being told that temperatures are getting warmer and warmer. Another thing that really adds more heat into the index is humidity here. Humidity just adds another layer of stress on these plants. So I think that if you're getting that kind of heat, you need to look at tropicals or things that are, they won't survive the winter here necessarily, but they will be gorgeous all summer. And you need to think about, are you going to be able to water, to take care of, plants are like children or animals. And if you're going to plant it, you need to be prepared to nurture those plants. Otherwise, you will not be successful.
Someone like me who has an apartment, you might have a different, your balcony might face differently towards the sun and during the hottest part of the day. Do you suggest that people should maybe go out and just kind of observe, where they're going to plant and, how the sun and the shade could impact that area?
Absolutely. I think it's important to get a game plan and to visualize what you see as making you happy. And a lot of times when people don't know if they're facing east or west, or if they're getting morning sun, afternoon sun, I said, you need to go home and do some homework and then come back, and we'll make sure that you're doing it right. So you're absolutely right. The sun is just critical.
Vacation, spring break, things of that nature. Is there something that people can do to kind of keep their plants and their flowers alive?
There are products for potted plants specifically that you can put in the soil that will retain some moisture in the soil. The best thing to do is have a great neighbor. That's the best thing. But there are ways to minimize the effects. And one of the simplest things you can do, especially if you have pots, is if you are leaving town for an extended period of time, pull them into the shade. Just simply get them out of the sun. That will help more than anything. The plants that are planted in the ground, their root systems are protected by the dirt, and it's the root system that is so critical. It's not so much the flower or the leaves. It is what's going on underneath the earth that you can't really see. So if you water really well, it's mulched well, that keeps the moisture in the earth from transpiring into the atmosphere, and so that helps a lot. So yes, there are tricks of the trade.
Now, we are, almost in the peak of pollen season, and I know a lot of people suffer from allergies, but they still want to participate in having a nice green, beautiful pink, purple yard. Are there certain types of plants that you would say keep that pollen away just a little bit, or for people who suffer with allergies?
I tell everybody, people are always going, like you're in the checkout line at the grocery store, and they go, oh, the pollen's just killing me. And I always say, and excuse me if this is too racy, but I always say, pollen is just the result of these creatures procreating. And if you don't have pollen, then you're not going to have plants in the future. So I think that the simplest thing to do is, put a mask back on, or go out in when maybe it's not as windy, or just you have to use your common sense, or take one of those pills that people take for allergies. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's just pollen is a fact of life. And in the South, we live outdoors most of the year. And we've had a very early spring this year, and the heat has just come upon us, very quickly, which is wonderful. It means we get over the pollen quicker. And with all this wind and the heat, they're going to bloom faster, and I would assume probably in 2 weeks you're not going to have to think much about it again. These are living creatures, and they absorb carbon dioxide in the air. They put out oxygen. They're no different than we are. And you go to all this trouble to make something beautiful, then go out there, plop yourself down on a chair, pour a glass of wine, and enjoy it. Exactly. Yeah, I know. First of all, you're just blown away by what to choose from. I mean, there's just so much. So again, I think it depends on knowing what you need. Do you have shade or sun? Right now we're standing in the shade annual area. And look at all these beautiful things. And you don't necessarily have to have something that flowers. Like this is an impatiens, and this will flower in the shade. It needs some ambient light, but still it doesn't need direct sunlight necessarily. But then you get color from other things like coleus. Look at the assortment of color in these leaves on these coleus. Now they don't put out a flower, but as you put and group things together, they just, you combine textures and you combine color, and you just have a showcase of happiness.
Right.
Yes, just sheer happiness.
Yes, and shade is important because, like you said, temperature makes a big difference in what you plant and where you plant.
Exactly. Everybody needs a break from the sun, from the direct sun. I mean, Atlanta is not the hottest place in the United States, but we think it is. And again, I say that humidity, that's just another level of weight for these plants to go, oh. So like these are caladiums. Caladiums would take literally no sun. You could use these on a porch. They would even do well inside. And they're beautiful. The heart-shaped leaf, the variation of colors, the striations in the leaf. They do make a few that are sun-worthy, but most of them like shade. So, lot to choose from if you've got shade.
Now, will these plants be springtime only, or are these?
These will hold up all summer. All these plants will hold up all summer.
Perfect.
If you take care of them.
Yes, the caveat.
if you take care of them, if you treat them properly and water them appropriately and give them a little fertilizer every now and then, which is a simple thing to do. There are a lot of other things that can really take a lot of heat. This is lantana. Lantana and the pollinators, it's another aspect of all these plants. If we don't have nourished plants, our pollinators can't thrive. And that includes bees, moths, butterflies, hummingbirds, birds of any sort. And if they're the ones that are doing all the hard work with the plants. And if that's what makes the world carry on, and this is what creates our food supply. So it's a cyclical thing, and it's important to step back and get a picture from 30,000 feet and understand this is not just about you in a pot. This is about the whole engineering of this planet. And so here, these are petunias. People love petunias. They love petunias, and those can take a lot of sun. Marigolds can take a lot of sun. A lot of the vines that we have, and all of these, geraniums, and all of this can take a good amount of sun. But again, if you have the option to just be thoughtful about where you put it and give it a little bit of a reprieve from full sun all day long, that would be great. It's the afternoon sun that's just so brutal here.
Right. It's like most importantly, you need to know your area.
Know your area.
Before you plant whatever you're going to be.
Prep is everything.
Yes.
Then you won't waste money and you won't be stressed.
People love ferns in Georgia. I know my mom always had a fern on the porch.
Right.
Talk a little about the care for the ferns.
Well, the ferns, these are Boston ferns, and they're different kinds of ferns. There's a macho fern, a Kimberly queen fern. They have kind of different growing dynamics. The Boston is probably the most popular. It's big, it's luscious. It does love the shade. It does not require any sun. You can do it in a hanging basket, which is fabulous, or you can just plop that down in a pot. They don't need to be potted in dirt necessarily. They'll be fine in these all summer long. They'll last until we have the first frost or really, really hit of cold. These plants are much more durable than you think. They can go down to the mid to high 40s and be fine. And then if they get toasted by a frost or something, they're inexpensive enough that don't try to overwinter them, just throw them away and buy new ones the next year. It's just not worth it.
Right.
So, but they're just a fabulous. Now, there are some perennial ferns that grow in the ground, but for just a hit of something that just makes everything come alive, and this makes you feel cool. To see a fern, it just makes you go, oh.
Right. You can see it blowing in the breeze.
Yeah,
It's perfect.
has a lot of movement, a lot of movement. This fern right here is the all-time favorite to be planted in the ground. This is an autumn fern. It is the only evergreen fern in Atlanta, in Georgia. This is, these little things come out and they're kind of orangey. And then they turn into this gargantuan, beautiful, big leaf. These can get about 24 inches tall and really, really big. And then they'll hold their leaf in the winter. If it gets some winter burn on it, you just whack them back and prune them, and they start to come out. You need to be careful when you're pruning, though. You never want to cut this little, I call these little seahorses. This is the new leaf, so it's going to come out and just slowly unfurl. And these are beautiful asparagus ferns. These typically will not overwinter here. They're more of a Florida Charleston plant, more of a tropical climate, but they're wonderful and they're very, very hardy. And then there are all these kinds of ferns in here to choose from. These all will come back, but they die back in the wintertime. And then here are my gorgeous hostas. Oh, I love hostas. I just can't get enough. Neither can the deer. So if you have deer, do not plant hostas.
No.
I had a gorgeous expanse of hostas at my mountain house, and I came back one time and they were just mature and so beautiful, and came back and they were just little nuts. They had taken all the foliage off, and I just about had to be put in the hospital. I was so upset. So I've learned you either have to net them or protect them if you have deer. And as we have taken away the habitat for the deer, the deer are not afraid of us, and they're not the brightest bulb on the planet, so they're going to come in and eat anything. Your garden is like a smorgasbord to them. So if you have deer, you need to either, there are not many things that are repellent for deer, honestly.
Yeah.
They say they are, but if they're hungry enough, they're going to eat anything. They typically don't eat autumn ferns, like we talked about, or hellebores, Lenten roses. But other than that, they love this, yes. But there is nothing prettier for shade than a hosta. They come in chartreuse, they come in dwarf sizes, gargantuan sizes. They just, and you mix them with ferns and maybe some impatiens for color. Oh, it's so luscious, you can't believe it.
Are they good in pots, or are they?
I have
better?
A lot of them in pots.
Okay.
And I had a friend who was a master gardener, and she had a little garden in the shade around her little table, a little stone patio, and she had them on pedestals or whatever. And so I thought, oh, that's a good idea. I think I'll steal it. And so I have in my little garden, which is smaller now, I have all kinds of potted hostas, and they're just now starting to come in, and around them are ferns, and they're just luscious. And then they do die back in the winter time, but that's okay, because people have to remember you must let winter be winter.
Now we're in succulents. Now, some people don't really like succulents, but you said something that's really important. You said that they can take a lot of heat.
A lot of heat. They're typically almost a desert plant. A lot of them are in the cactus family, but succulents, cactus are succulents. And my favorite one, of course, I can never get enough of this because of this color. This is called sedum, which is a succulent. And it spreads, it stays low, but chartreuse, this color just brings everything alive. You know, it just enhances anything. So this is definitely one of my favorites. But if you want something that blooms and you really have a dry, arid area, this is an ice plant, and it comes in some of the most beautiful colors. There's a very bright yellow, and it spreads, it dies back in the winter time when it gets really cold here. But if it goes into the 20s and it starts to cool the dirt off, that's when things are at risk. But these actually are beautiful, and they can take, and they close at night and they open when the sun comes out. Yes. And so they make them kind of, it's a fun plant. But they're all different kinds of succulents, as you can see, and they don't require a lot of water. So they can take full sun,
right,
for the most part.
So
yeah.
if you have no shade and you're a beginner, this is probably the plant for you.
Yes, and there are some sun tolerant annuals. So don't forget the flowers, because there are some like lantana and purslane that can take all the heat in the world. But for the most part, you just have to think like a plant.
Yes.
You have to think like a plant.
Yes. So some people might not be into, greenery, but they might want to grow their own herbs or vegetables or things of that nature. Do you have any suggestions for springtime herbs and veggies that people could plant?
Yes. I mean, now vegetables need a lot of sun.
Yes.
So if you're going to plant vegetables, you need to have usually 6 to 8 hours of sun a day, especially tomatoes. They love the sun. And I think you just need to do your homework about vegetables, specifically depending on what you're growing. Just read the directions, go online, just learn about the vegetable and what they need. But what I love most are herbs, because I love to cook, I love to eat, and you just can't get enough satisfaction from herbs. From anything from pineapple, sage, and when this flowers, it attracts hummingbirds you wouldn't believe. Thyme, all different flavors of thyme, mints galore that, some are mojito mints, chocolate mint, peppermint, spearmint, oregano, fennel, dill, sage. I mean, it's incredible. And lemon balm. Lemon balm is a fabulous thing. This is lemon balm right here. And people don't realize this. If you rub it and smell your finger, or you could just eat the leaf. And if
lemony.
Yes, and if you know, lemon in a recipe enhances things. You can take this and chop it up and put it in pasta, put it on fish, put it on anything, and it's just wonderful. And so what I like to do is take my herbs, and I prefer to do them in pots. I prefer to locate them near the kitchen door where it's convenient. And then, you know, at dinner time, you need to a little this and that, a little oregano, a little thyme, a little sage. Just go out there and whack a piece off, and you've got it. Rosemary, yes, exactly. I think the beauty about houseplants is you just have this plethora of variations of leaves. Now, most houseplants don't bloom.
Right.
You're going to get a little color, for instance, from bromeliads, and they hold their color forever and ever. These are peace lilies, and they and this is really not a flower; it's a leaf, almost like a poinsettia.
Yes.
But they're beautiful, and they don't like a lot of light at all. So some will take absolutely no light, and some would like brighter ambient light. Like this is the beautiful classic philodendron, and there are all kinds of philodendrons now. These are also philodendrons, but this one is so beautiful because it's the leaf is so interesting.
Right.
It's got this cut leaf, and it's just gorgeous. They get big, they're lush. It gives you that kind of feeling that you're in the tropics or walking through the botanical gardens.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, Rena?
I just think that they're like children. They're just like children, and they're such an important part of our lives, and I don't think that we ever appreciate what they do in our house by they filter the air, they put clean air out into our atmosphere, just like the trees do outside. So they're just an important part, and I think we all need something to take care of, and it's a nurturing way for us to give and get back. Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking.
You're so welcome.
Today.
Thanks for letting me share.